Imagine the most powerful conqueror in history, a man who subdued half the known world, only to die suddenly under mysterious circumstances. There was no obvious illness, no clear evidence of murder, and the most shocking part. His death ignited a conspiracy that baffles historians to this day. Was the death of Alexander the Great a natural occurrence, or a carefully planned assassination? Alexander the Great, a name that redrew the boundaries of the ancient world. From Greece to Egypt and all the way to India, he forged a colossal empire. His military strategy, his lightning speed, and his relentless ambition made him almost invincible. But as swiftly as he conquered the world, his story came to an abrupt end. At just 32 years old, without warning, in Babylon. His death sent shockwaves through the entire empire. And from that moment until today, one question has remained among history's greatest mysteries: how did Alexander actually die? Born in 356 BCE, Alexander was the son of King Philip II, and from a very young age, he displayed extraordinary intelligence and leadership. He was educated by the great philosopher Aristotle, which ignited in him a hunger for both knowledge and conquest. At the age of 20, he ascended to the throne, and from there, he began defeating one powerful empire after another. Conquering the Persian Empire, winning over Egypt, and eventually reaching India. These achievements had already made him a legend. However, controlling such a vast empire was no easy feat. A power struggle began to grow steadily among his generals, his friends, and his advisors, and this very tension could have been a major factor behind his death. It is 323 BCE, the royal palace of Babylon. Alexander sits at a grand banquet surrounded by his most trusted generals. Everything seems normal, the wine is flowing, the victory is being celebrated. But suddenly, Alexander is struck by a searing fever. At first, no one is overly concerned. He is the man who conquered the world, after all. But over the next few days, his condition deteriorates with terrifying speed. He loses the ability to speak. His body grows weaker by the hour. Yet, the most haunting detail is this: his mental clarity remains intact until the very end. He understands everything happening around him, but he is trapped in a body that refuses to obey. After 10 to 12 days of agonizing suffering, Alexander is declared dead. But what happened next was even more mysterious. Reportedly, his body did not show any signs of decay for several days after his passing. To the people of that time, this was a divine sign. Proof that Alexander was not a mere mortal, but a god. But was it a miracle, or is there a chilling medical explanation? This is where the real mystery begins. If Alexander only had a fever, how did it become so deadly? And if he was poisoned, why did it take effect so slowly? Some historians argue that poisons of that era weren't typically that slow-acting, yet there were certain rare toxins capable of gradually paralyzing the body. Then, another strange detail emerges: Alexander never announced a clear successor for his empire before he died. Is it possible he didn't realize death was coming? Or was he simply never given the chance to speak? And the most shocking suspicion involves his closest generals, men like Ptolemy, Seleucus, and Antipater. They had both the motive and the opportunity. Could this all have been part of a cold, calculated conspiracy? Many theories have emerged regarding Alexander's death. The first theory is poisoning. It is said that poison was mixed into his wine. In some accounts, Antipater's son is considered a suspect. But the problem is that the poisons of that time were not so slow-acting. The second theory is natural illness, such as typhoid fever, malaria, or a viral infection. The environment of Babylon at that time was also unhealthy. But the symptoms of these diseases do not fully match. The third theory is even more fascinating: Guillain-Barré Syndrome. A rare neurological condition in which the body becomes paralyzed but the mind remains active. If this theory is correct, it is possible that Alexander was not technically dying. Rather, he was in paralysis, and was mistakenly assumed to be dead. And because of this, his body did not decay. But this theory is also not fully proven. And this uncertainty makes the mystery even deeper. The death of Alexander the Great is not just a historical event, but an unresolved mystery. A puzzle where there are clues, but no final answer. Was he a victim of an illness? Or did his own people bring about his end? Was his death natural? Or a carefully executed conspiracy? What the truth is may remain hidden in the pages of history forever. But one thing is certain. As great as his life was, his death is just as mysterious. And perhaps that is why Alexander the Great is remembered today not just as a conqueror, but as a timeless mystery.